3 years ago, an assessor from Essex young carers arrived at Flo and Grace's home and asked the girls about the chores they did. When the total hours were totted up, it emerged the girls spent about 40 hours each week between them caring for their mother, Kaylee. Subscribe my channel for more breaking news. The sisters are part of a growing population of young carers giving more than 20 hours of weekly support to loved ones. Census data suggests there are 20,945 under-18s providing between 20 and 49 hours of care, up 7% from 19,530 in 2011. I feel a lot of guilt, says Kaylee, who has albinism and is blind. Effectively they have a full-time job each week, just helping me. The children's daily tasks include washing up, putting the washing on, applying eye drops 4 times a day, applying sun cream, reading the post and important letters, keeping floors clean, looking after the dogs, helping to make dinner, checking the cooking settings. While the children just accept their caring efforts as what they do, Kaylee describes her daughters as amazing superheroes. There are some really low days when I just wish I was normal for them, says Kaylee. Then again, I know I am bringing up 2 incredible humans. Although Flo and Grace have always helped their mother, the care Kaylee needed increased dramatically during the pandemic after an eye infection stripped her of much of her remaining sight. That sight loss made navigating the outside world such a daunting prospect. Everything I thought I knew, I then didn't know. I was like a toddler again and needed to be taught by my young carers, Kaylee says. The sisters were referred to the charity Cool Carers after their primary school head teacher overheard Kaylee mention that her daughters read the post to her. The support given by the charity and the chance to meet other young carers has been transformative for the sisters. Kaylee says the girls became more accepting of being young carers. It wasn't a secret anymore. Friends have also been supportive, the sisters say. I don't tend to bring it up, says Flo. But if I do tell them, then they are like, oh okay, and it doesn't seem abnormal after that. In fact, my friends think it is quite cool. And despite their responsibilities and homework, Flo is heavily involved in dance and judo while Grace also does judo and is a member both of the Young Essex Assembly and the Royal Navy Cadets. She hopes one day to be a Royal Navy engineer. Helen Murphy works as a counselor with young carers and their families. Life can be tough enough for any young person these days, she says. And when you add on their caring responsibilities, it can be really quite overwhelming for them. Issues such as loneliness and a sense of isolation are common. Quite often they will come to us and say, this is just what we do and got used to, she says. But they will have quite complex emotions about it. They might feel angry or feel it is unfair but cannot really express that to the parent or parents they are caring for. We provide them with the space and time to express those quite natural feelings. The number of young carers known to Essex County Council has risen from 2,482 in 2021 to 3,577 at the most recent count. The council claims the rise is largely down to schools and other organizations being better at identifying young carers. Chris Vince, the Young Carers Service Manager at Harlow-based Action for Young Carers, says he has noticed an increase in mental health issues caused by the cost of living crisis, which in turn had led to a rise in referrals. Rachel Toongate, the founder of Cool Carers, suggests the pandemic itself has increased the number of young carers. Particularly in terms of adults with complex mental health needs. We've noticed a massive increase in the number of young carers, she says. Before the pandemic we were supporting 48 young carers aged 8 to 18. We're now supporting 153 young carers and their families, which equates to more than 500 people, and we've got a waiting list of 87 young people. As a society, I think we are all falling short. Too many young carers are still below the radar. Asked whether there was enough support out there for young carers, Ms. Toongate says, absolutely not. We need to ensure they feel comfortable about identifying themselves as young carers and that the support is out there for when they do. Some young carers, she says, are missing out on education or training because of their caring responsibilities. We are seeing some young carers who don't go on to reach their full potential academically because they want to stay at home and care for their loved ones, Ms. Toongate says. They are incredibly selfless. Young carer Carrie Foster, 19, lives in Basildon and desperately wants to go to university to study design. But her family cannot afford for her to go, she says. Her father has the neurodegenerative disorder Gordon-Holmes syndrome, which has increasingly reduced his mobility. Her mother gave up work a couple of years ago to care for her husband. It is not really feasible for me at the moment, she says about her studies. Instead, she has taken a full-time job in her hometown to both support herself and her parents. She says she will reassess whether or not she can go to university in a couple of years' time. Mark Durham, the County Council cabinet member responsible for the youth service, says the Essex Young Carers Service was proactively engaging with young people and identifying more young carers. We are committed to helping them to feel supported too, he says. We work to ensure activities are age and gender appropriate, and that the role of young carers is acknowledged with their achievements celebrated. We aim to ensure young carers are not disadvantaged due to their caring role and have the same opportunities as their peers to enjoy life and fulfill their ambitions. 2. Caring Together's young carers facing funding crisis. Caring Together helps children and teenagers across Cambridgeshire and Norfolk who care for relatives. It said BBC Children in Need had been funding its work for many years, but that had now stopped. The charity is urgently appealing for support to continue its young carer provision beyond 2023. The St. Ives-based charity has been supported by BBC Children in Need for about 10 years, and its last round of 3-year funding amounted to £50,000 per year. However, it failed in its latest bid to renew that. We are massively appreciative of the funding we've had from Children in Need, and are doing all we can to ensure our young carer work can carry on, said a spokesperson for Caring Together. It costs Caring Together £310 to support one young person for a year, which includes activities, transport costs if needed, and support from volunteers and trained staff. The charity is currently helping 150 young carers across Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, and that support is ongoing, with assistance as the children grow older from other parts of Caring Together. It was only its young people's services in Cambridgeshire that were being affected, not the ones in Norfolk, nor any of its services for adults across either county. Tanya from Peterborough has breathing difficulties and chronic pain after suffering emphysema and a collapsed lung. Her children Sophie, 10, and Richard, 15, help to run the house and keep on top of her medication. Richard will help me to organize all my meds into the pill boxes, and the children help with the chores, she said. On the first day back at school, Sophie told BBC Radio Cambridgeshire, "I've been helping Mummy to dry the clothes and hang them on the line. When we have a proper dinner, me and my brother help to cook it." Mum guilt. Both children have been supported by Caring Together from a young age, and their mum says it gives them a break, and can offer summer breaks to young carers. Sophie's confidence has come on leaps and bounds since joining their activities, said Tanya. My dad might sometimes take them to the beach. But this summer, the only thing Sophie has really done is these trips. Richard said the charity had helped me to feel less alone, knowing there are more people like me out there. I enjoy meeting other people who understand as they are going through similar situations, he added. Tanya said she suffered from mum guilt about the impact on her children of having them look after her. I thought I'd look after them, I want them to just be kids, she said. 15-year-old Erin said having support from Caring Together was probably the best thing that's happened to me. Her dad has several long-term health conditions, affecting Erin and her 2 sisters. When I go home, if I don't have sport after school, I make sure my dad is okay, get him what he needs and then do my homework, she said. I make sure that is all out of the way before I help with dinner. She said the charity helped a lot with anxiety for exam preparation, and provided days out so I can take my mind off things. Miriam Martin, chief executive of Caring Together said, there will be young carers trying to get homework done alongside doing the cooking, washing up, or cleaning. Their caring role may include getting someone washed and into bed, administering medication and doing the food shop. Having a break and the right support are essential. 3. Bedford Young Carer Sisters given bedroom makeover. The girls, from Bedford, were recognized by the charity Carers in Bedfordshire for giving amazing care. Their mother said, "It's been a really tough year and this will make a big difference to them." She added it would give them independence and a sense of security, and it was something they really deserve. The charity worked with Social Housing Association BPHA, Bailey's Heating, Bell Group and Bedford Repair Cafe to transform the shared room. Volunteer Amina Pagliari, a fine art graduate, came up with the concept and design, and Aisha Magri added the finishing touches. They are looking forward to having sleepovers, their mother said. The makeover is a massive help. It will give the girls independence and a sense of security. They can shut themselves away and have time to themselves. Janice Stiles, young carers lead at Carers in Bedfordshire, said, being a young carer means that at times a child has the responsibilities that even many adults may struggle with, juggling schoolwork and caring for a family member whilst still a child. She said the family members had physical health conditions. We know how important it is for young carers to have a space of their own, a little sanctuary away from the busyness of the day-to-day. The girls now have a special place to relax, play and sleep. The mother said the girls would be overwhelmed. It makes me feel so much better that they are getting something that they really deserve. Jim Plale, Community Engagement Officer at BPHA, said the work would make a huge difference to two of our youngest residents. It's shocking to be told that some children start caring for others from as young as 4 years old. The team have gone one step further with this bedroom makeover. The girls have a special, fun space of their own and they truly deserve it. 4. Young carers not feeling supported by their schools, says report. There are young people struggling with being a carer every day and not getting any recognition for it at all. Dearmood, 18, from County Armagh, has been helping to care for his brother, who has autism, since he was a child. He now wants to highlight the struggles that young carers face in education. New research shows only 16% of young carers across the Belfast, Southern and Southeastern Health Trusts feel supported by their schools. The report by Action for Children says a young carer takes on an average of 25 hours of unpaid work per week to help keep a household running. In a recent survey, less than half of respondents, 43%, said their schools were aware of their caring role. 2 years ago, the charity formed its Young Carers Inclusion Group, YCIG, which is made up of young carers dedicated to improving support. Dearmood, who is chairman of the YCIG, said he was aged 9 or 10 when his younger brother was diagnosed with autism. School struggles. I was always helping my brother, especially with social things, even before he was diagnosed, he told BBC News NE. I was constantly getting him to go out with me and go on walks because he doesn't really like going out of the house much. He'd just stay in the house by himself, but I kind of pushed him to be more active and talk to more people. Plus we share a room as well. I'd help tidy up and help him with anything he'd normally struggle with, like mainly his communication. Dearmood admitted it was not always easy juggling both school and helping to care for his younger brother. I didn't really like my time at school and I did struggle because I couldn't quite keep up, and I knew it was because I had more than just school going on, Dearmood said. I felt like the school just saw me as any other student, and that especially when I got to senior school they expected me to be like everyone else. That I'd have some silly reason for not doing my homework and be out with friends all weekend, but that wasn't me. I didn't have time to do stuff like that. He added that his time at school could have been a lot easier had his teachers and fellow students understood the impact that being a young carer had. Some teachers, when they found out about my situation, they didn't give it much thought or probably didn't know what a young carer was, he said. But it felt like a lot of them didn't care, so I thought, what's the point in me explaining? I was the only recognized young carer in my year group, but when I got to know people, I was able to count at least 15 others that were young carers but didn't know their situation had a label. Knowing the signs. Mark Coyley, family support practitioner with Action for Children, said it was vital schools knew the signs of a young carer and were aware of students' home situations. From helping mum into the shower before getting ready for school, to getting dad his medication, or helping little brother through an emotional overload, the morning is never slow and steady for a young carer, he said. A bad morning, a late night, an unexpected accident, all of these things add up and can mean when a young carer arrives at school, they're already exhausted. School is unfortunately their respite, and time away from the pressure they are under at home. The report shows 63% of young carers want more flexibility and understanding from teachers, to take the stress out of the school day for them when things are difficult at home. I would have dropped out. Dearmood said having one supportive teacher got him through his school experience. My form teacher from 4th year to the end of A-levels, she was always there for me and I told her that, he said. She helped me through a lot of mental issues, she always checked in and I genuinely wouldn't have got through my A levels without her, I would have dropped out. But I know there's young carers in worse situations than me and a lot don't even make it through their GCSEs because of it. As chairman of YCIG, Dearmood said he was pushing for schools to introduce awareness programs. If they've a child that's missed several homeworks in a row and they know they're a young carer, then they'll know it's better to pull them aside and ask if they're okay. Things like that, rather than scolding them or embarrassing them in class. Aisling Reynolds, Services Manager for Action for Children Young Carers, said a school's awareness and support of a young carer can make a huge difference to their education experience and also their confidence and self-esteem. We've seen instances where a child is misunderstood and constantly told off for reasons beyond their control and it's pushed them away from school completely, she said. The full report. 5. Young carers, thousands of children left unsupported. Nearly 180,000 children in England who care for a relative may be missing out on support because they are not known to their council, BBC News analysis suggests. Local authorities have a duty to identify, assess and support children who provide a caring role. But experts say many are not getting the help and time off they need. Ministers said councils had a duty to support carers, but the local government association called for better funding. A young carer is someone under 18 who cares for a family member or friend with a physical or mental health illness or disability. They carry out a high level of care such as washing, dressing, giving medication, looking after family finances, cooking and cleaning. If they are known to their local council, they could access young carers clubs and activities, help at home or one-to-one support. But analysis by the BBC suggests 75% of young carers in England are not known to councils. System cannot cope. Responses to a Freedom of Information request showed local authorities were aware of just over 58,000 young carers in 2019-20. Research by BBC News and Nottingham University in 2018 estimated that 7% of children aged 11 to 15 years were caring at a high level. The analysis compared the national trends from the 2018 findings to the FOI responses, and the results suggest nearly 180,000 young carers are unaccounted for. Professor Saul Becker, a specialist on young carers, said that if every one of those was known to local authorities, they would not be able to meet demand. He said, "The system does rely, to some extent, on it only meeting the needs of a certain number of those young people. It couldn't cope with the sheer demand from all of those hidden armies of young carers out there." Paige, 15, and Beth, 12, from Herefordshire, helped their disabled mum to get out of bed, shower, apply her morphine patches and assist with cooking and cleaning. They said they had not had an assessment or were really sure what one was, and the pressure of their caring roles affected their mental health. "We have anxiety, and we've got separation anxiety as well," Paige said. "We hate being away from mum. That makes it worse," Beth added. "I feel quite isolated as a young person and as a young carer. Sometimes it takes a toll on you," Paige explained. "I think you just get overwhelmed." Respite from caring. The sisters go to Herefordshire Young Carers Club, HYCC, which offers weekly activities and support. Susan Brace, one of the support workers at the charity, said, "It's really important young carers get to access the same opportunities as anybody else. A lot of them have got a huge amount of responsibility. And it's really hard for them to sometimes socialize after school or have friends around to play." Edwina Roberts, another support worker at HYCC, said, "There are so many hidden young carers, we are forever trying to raise awareness to try and find them. Here they're having respite from their caring role and they're just allowed to be a child and to have fun." Professor Becker said, "We should never underestimate the importance and the power of having a few hours off where you do not have to worry about who's looking after your parent, who's looking after your brother and sister, so you can escape. And so respite care is critical. Supporting the family is critical. One-to-one support is important for many young carers." How do local authorities compare? The number of young carers reported by councils varied dramatically across the country. Some areas including Leeds, Bolton, Tower Hamlets and Derby responded saying they had less than 50 young carers, while others including Suffolk, Lincolnshire and West Sussex said they had over 1,000. No council reflected the suggested number of young carers in their area. Lancashire County Council said they had 9 young carers in their area, but the BBC analysis suggested that figure could be nearer to 5,000, based on national trends. The council said, "This data is only for young carers who care for an adult service user that we have on our adults system." After rechecking its figures, the council responded saying its commissioned service supported 224 new referrals in 2019-20. Warwickshire County Council highlighted 2,080 young carers, which was only around 200 less than trends would suggest. 6 local authorities replied saying it would cost too much to retrieve the data, while 11 councils couldn't give data for the year April 2019 to March 2020. 2 councils only provided census information dating back to 2011, while another council claimed it was unable to release the numbers as it was personal information. The Local Government Association said, "Councils across the country work hard to make sure young carers are able to access the support they need. With adequate funding for children's services and adult social care, councils can do more to help young carers and prevent them from having to pick up any shortfalls in support." The Department for Education said, "Young carers make an invaluable contribution and we recognize the challenges they face. Local authorities have a duty to assess and support young carers' needs, making sure a young carer is not taking on excessive or inappropriate caring responsibilities." 6. At Carers Bucks, we want every schools group to be a success as it provides young carers with an additional support system. It can seem daunting to be responsible for establishing a schools group, but our school workers are on hand to support you in making it a success. Alongside your named Young Carers Champion, our schools workers will come to your group and help run the first 3 sessions. These 3 sessions tend to be up to an hour long and ideally not held during a lunch break. Session 1. An introduction to your Young Carers Schools group. This provides an opportunity for the young carers to understand the purpose of the schools group and decide as a collective what they want their group to focus on. Session 2. This session looks at getting the group together again and starting to build on their individual caring roles. They have the opportunity to discuss their caring role and any worries that they may have through targeted craft activities and games. Session 3. By our final session, we hope that the dedicated Young Carers Champion is feeling confident and excited to carry on facilitating your group. We give the Young Carers Champion the opportunity to lead the session with our support. As the session ends, Carers Bucks, we will leave your group with a Young Carer resource box that will support the delivery of further sessions. Young carers often report on how they experience educational difficulties. This can include significant absence from school, not feeling supported in balancing studying with their caring role, not having someone to talk to at school about being a young carer, and impact on friendships and overall lower educational attainment. Carers Bucks is committed to working in partnership with schools to support young carers across Buckinghamshire. The project is focused on helping schools to identify and support young carers within their school setting. We work alongside the school to help establish a sustainable young carers group. Ofsted have highlighted the needs of young carers as high priority and have looked favorably upon schools who work alongside charities and agencies to benefit pupils within schools.